one machine nearly ended the career of drag racing's greatest legend. And in doing so, revolutionized the sport forever. On March 8th, 1970, Swamp Rat 13 literally exploded beneath Big Daddy Don Garlits, severing his foot and splitting his car in half. But the real story isn't about the crash. It's about how this deadly dragster became the catalyst for the greatest safety innovation in motorsports history. By 1970, Don Garlits had already built over a dozen Swamp Rat dragsters, each one faster and more violent than the last. Swamp Rat 13 wasn't originally intended to be revolutionary. It was born out of desperation when its predecessor, the beautiful Smothers Brothers sponsored Swamp Rat 12B, literally collapsed during transport from a Canadian race. Working with crew chief Tommy T.C. Lemons and welder Connie Swingle, Garlits had just 72 hours to build an entirely new car for the prestigious NHRA Spring Nationals in Dallas. They missed the event, but what emerged from their frantic 3-day build session would become one of the most significant dragsters in racing history. Swamp Rat 13 packed a supercharged 426 Hemi engine producing over 1,500 horsepower, enough raw power to propel the car past 225 miles per hour in under 7 seconds. But beneath its menacing black exterior lurked the same fatal design flaw that plagued every front-engine dragster of the era. The driver sat directly behind the transmission and clutch assembly, essentially becoming a human shield for these explosive components. What made Swamp Rat 13 truly special wasn't just its power, it was innovation hidden beneath the surface. After winning the US fuel and gas championships at New York National Speedway, Garlits realized he needed something unprecedented, a 2-speed transmission for a Top Fuel dragster. The idea came from a close race against the Dodge factory team. Despite getting a good launch, Garlits watched helplessly as his opponents caught up at the halfway mark. "The gearing is too high for the tires, but I don't want to slow my speed down," he told TC. "What we need is a transmission." Through cam grinder Bruce Crowder, they contacted Leonard Abbott in California, who had built a crude 2-speed transmission from a 1949 Ford Overdrive unit. Abbott shipped his experimental transmission to Chicago, where Garlits and Stoffels installed it in their dragster. The results were immediate, as the car ran 0.2 quicker. For 3 months, Garlits kept the transmission a secret, claiming it was merely a reverser for backing up after burnouts. When the transmission didn't work, crew members would push the car back to the starting line. The deception worked perfectly, until Don the Snake, Prudhomme, caught on during a tire test at Indianapolis, hearing the distinctive sound of Garlits shifting gears mid-track. Prudhomme's phone call to California that day led to the birth of the Lenco Transmission Company, still a dominant force in drag racing today. March 8th, 1970, at Lions Drag Strip in Long Beach, California. Garlits strapped into Swamp Rat 13 for what should have been a routine final round in Top Fuel eliminations. In the semifinals, he had broken the rear end, but still won the round and made it to the finals. TC and the crew installed a new rear end and decided to change the transmission as a precaution. In their haste to make the final round, they didn't completely fill the transmission with oil, a decision that would prove catastrophic. The transmission oil served as a shock absorber if anything went wrong inside, but Garlits didn't realize this critical detail until it was too late. As he launched for the final pass, the sprag in the transmission failed, allowing the engine to over-rev and spin the transmission drum backwards at 3 times normal speed. When the drum reached 30,000 RPM, it exploded with the force of a bomb, literally sawing the car in 2 pieces and severing all the toes on Garlits' right foot. The explosion sent Garlits tumbling down the track in a mangled mess. Track workers rushed to pull him from the wreckage, his racing career seemingly over, his foot destroyed, and his body broken. While recovering at Pacific Coast Hospital in Long Beach, Garlits did something that would change motorsports forever. Instead of retiring or feeling sorry for himself, he started sketching the future of drag racing. The concept was radical yet simple. Move the engine behind the driver instead of in front. Put all the dangerous rotating components away from the cockpit to create a machine that was both safer and faster than anything that had come before. There had to be a better way, Garlits later explained. He didn't invent the rear-engine dragster. Others had tried and failed, but he was determined to perfect the formula. After 6 weeks in the hospital, Garlits sold Swamp Rat 13 to TC Lemons for $4,500. Lemons and Swingle rebuilt the car and took it on tour while Garlits recovered. Later that year, with his foot still bandaged and leaking, Garlits made one final qualifying pass in Swamp Rat 13 at Bristol, setting both top speed and low ET to get Swingle into the field. Art Malone eventually acquired the car, ran it briefly, then sold it to a young racer who converted it to a gas-burning C dragster. In 1976, while walking through the pits at Bradenton, Garlits spotted a familiar chrome roll bar with a distinctive dimple, the mark left when the injector hit during the Long Beach explosion, and he bought the car back for $300. For nearly 40 years, Swamp Rat 13 sat as a static display in Garlits Museum, surrounded by photos of the horrific crash, pieces of wreckage, and the blood-stained helmet from that fateful day. But in 2015, when the Harley-Davidson Museum requested the car for a drag racing exhibition, Garlits decided it was time for one final restoration. Chris Bumpus and the museum crew spent 6 weeks completely rebuilding the dragster, repairing the original block, heads, and crankshaft. They fired it up at a cackle fest at Great Lakes Dragaway, with Garlits' fiancée Lisa Krigar sitting in the cockpit protected by a new face mask and goggles. Swamp Rat 13's true legacy cannot be measured in victories or records. It's measured in the lives it saved through its own destruction. That catastrophic crash at Lyons didn't just end one car's career. It killed an entire era of dangerous front-engine design that could have taken more lives. Every modern Top Fuel dragster, every pro-modified car, every serious drag racing machine built today follows the rear-engine blueprint that was born from Garlits' blood and broken bones with Swamp Rat 14. The car that nearly killed Big Daddy became the catalyst for making the sport infinitely safer. It is ironic in a way that the most dangerous moment in Don Garlits' career became the foundation for drag racing's greatest safety innovation. Swamp Rat 13 was the last of its kind, the final front-engine monster to terrorize the sport before progress took over. Today, when you watch a Top Fuel dragster scream down the track at over 330 miles per hour in under 4 seconds, with the driver safely positioned in front of the engine rather than behind a ticking time bomb, you're witnessing the legacy of Swamp Rat 13, the deadly dragster that had to destroy itself to save the sport we love. So that's the shocking truth behind Don Garlits' most dangerous machine. Sometimes the only way forward is through fire, blood, and a near-death experience that changes everything. Stay tuned for more videos from drag racing's past, just like this. And don't forget to like and subscribe.